Ladies and gentlemen, Texas is about to pass a voting bill inspired by President Trump. The New York Times article is below. Texas voting bill nears passage as Republicans advance it. The Texas Tribune, the Texas Senate approves Senate bill sweeping voting limits legislation. CNN, Texas legislature closed to add new restrictions to voting process. I'm simply reading the news. The articles will be below. I'm giving you President Trump's perspective, and I'm giving you the Democratic Party's perspective. If anyone wants to see what I'm reading or what I'm talking about, the articles from reputable publications will be below in the description section. Here is the philosophical or the ideological basis behind what's going on. Okay? And this is from... I voted for President Trump. I supported Bernie Sanders not long ago, 4 years ago. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. I was the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. It's very important that I say that. I know there are people who say, here we go again. It's important that I say that because, as a former lifelong Democrat and a former Bernie Sanders supporter, when he was cheated and railroaded, and the DNC emails forced Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign, and 100 to 200,000 votes were purged in New York City just to undermine Bernie Sanders, and they couldn't even run their own primary. Not even in Iowa last year. It took them 2 or 3 days to find out who won Iowa. I mean, how long does it take to find out who wins Iowa? Then the app, the company that developed the app to tabulate the weird and bizarre Iowa calculations, which really you could use a calculator actually. It wasn't that difficult. That app was linked to Madam Secretary and the DNC, or the people who developed that app. Anyway, as somebody who was a former Bernie Sanders supporter and realizes what the Democratic Party is capable of, and somebody who became a supporter of President Trump, voted for President Trump, record low unemployment. You missed Trump yet? Record low unemployment when Democrats gleefully tanked their economy last year. That had nothing to do with Trump forever. He was saying, you know what? I don't even want to get into it. The worst outcomes took place in Democratic-run states, according to the New York Times statistics. And they had the most draconian policies. Look what's taking place still in Michigan. And God bless the people of New York and New Jersey. God bless the people of New York and New Jersey. They have the highest per capita rates and the greatest number of lives lost. But it is important to come from a perspective of a former Bernie Sanders supporter and look at President Trump's viewpoint. Does H.A. Goodman think that there's widespread evidence of something that would overturn results? No, there's not at the moment. There's no widespread grandiose plot that you can uncover tomorrow. There's no direct evidence. Like Stacey Abrams in Georgia with Brian Kemp, she didn't concede because she didn't truly concede. And she didn't accept Brian Kemp as a legitimate governor. Democrats didn't accept President Trump as a legitimate president. But when you spend 4 years after having railroaded Bernie Sanders, so hit subscribe to this channel right now. Hit subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel, and he'll get to 1 million. Hopefully he gets 10 million subs. He deserves it. Subscribe to Kwame Brown. I believe the channel is Kwame Brown Bust Life. He's amazing. He's taken on an entire sports media establishment linked directly to the Democratic Party all by himself, and he's obliterated and decimated anyone in his way. Pretty phenomenal. It's a beautiful sight to see. God bless Kwame Brown. But President Trump did not trust the numbers because the Democrats and media and Hollywood and everything that's been politicized in life today, from sports to music to I mean, how many people watching have friends who never cared about politics, and suddenly they're the moral voices of our generation. They care about politics because Trump was so mean with his record low unemployment, record low Black and Latino unemployment as well. Trump did better among non-white voters than any Republican in 60 years, and he did better than he did last election. And he allocated more funding, Trump did, to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. And he signed an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses, which is running rampant. The main thing that first president to step foot in North Korea, which is absolutely paradigm changing. And he was another paradigm changing, very important, and really one of the things that drives me and has always driven me towards, first Bernie Sanders, but he didn't even want to do this at the end of the day, and then President Trump. Bernie said it has to be an orderly withdrawal. Anyway, was withdrawing Americans and removing Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts, which is what Trump did in Afghanistan, removing our presence there, or negotiating a deal on May 1st to remove our presence. And, of course, Biden's going to keep us there indefinitely. That's why it was a moral imperative in my mind. And I think it was just a moral imperative, I'll speak like Democrats, to vote for President Trump over Biden. But if you didn't want endless recounts, if you didn't want 74 million Americans or the majority of Republicans or whatever poll you want to cite to distrust the numbers, then why did you spend 4 years? Why did you spend 4 years blaming Trump, accusing and insinuating and alleging that he worked with Russia without a shred of evidence? Intelligence reports are not evidence. The intel agencies have been wrong. Bay of Pigs, Gulf of Tonkin, WMD. Now we have Facebook ads. When have they been right about something? It's a politicized... everything Democrats do, or if there's a scandal, or if there's a story, well, the Russians want you to know. They just blame. It's so vapid and ridiculous. How anyone believes it's just kind of hilarious. They just say, well, there was a concerted effort, now they say by Ukraine or by Russia, to spread bad stories about Biden. Every day there's a negative story about Trump. What country is at fault? Oh, our country? What country? You have everything leveled against this man, including investigation. They're very likely going to indict him because New York wants retribution. And Democrats want retribution because he had the audacity to actually defeat Clinton. And they're not treating him the way they treat Democrats like Hunter and Clinton and others, who they cover up, whose crimes they cover up, and they go after Trump. So you take into the account the entire 4 years, the double standard. The rule of law is not their concern, according to Trump. And you have to ask yourself, even if you're a Democrat that can't stand Trump, do you think the rule of law is applied equally? Do you think that the director of the FBI, James Comey, stating, we couldn't find intent with Clinton, but writing a memo that implicates Trump, a memo. There's zero evidence in a memo. They tried to use his memo to get Trump on obstruction of justice charges. There's no evidence in a memo. I could say anything in a piece of paper and then claim it's the truth. There's no evidence in intelligence reports stating with high to moderate confidence assessments because they say you can't blame us if the information is wrong. This gets to the Texas voting law, if you've lasted this long. They don't trust the numbers in terms of pandemic-related reforms. I'll leave it at that. Trump does not trust the numbers in terms of pandemic-related reforms. So their goal, in their mind, is to implement or to ensure more integrity. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Texas and a whole bunch of other states have followed Trump's lead. hit subscribe to H.A. Goodwin's other channel.